welcome back to another episode in our Devlog series. I hope your guys' weeks have been eventful and as packed as ours has been. We've got some awesome work done with the new AI system and started on something a bit unnecessary, but this time it's actually going to make gameplay a lot better if we decide to go in that direction. Anyways, without wasting our time, let's give a huge thank you to our Patreons. With our awesome new Patreons, we were able to start looking into making a website. This is something our team has wanted for such a long time, and so I just wanted to thank every single Patreon we have, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to our new Patreon. He's a super supporter token, and his support has been amazing. In addition, I wanted to thank our first ever super supporter Tofster from last episode. He's an awesome supporter and I'm glad to have him. In addition, I wanted to thank Tajna, Munchir, Max, Delta, Deathstroke, and Inconspicuous for their continued support. Thank you guys a bunch for all your guys' support. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to be in this spot that we are now. So after going on a little bit of a tangent last week, I decided it was time. It was finally time to add the ability for Orcs to deal damage to the player. Thinking I did a bunch of prep work before I actually got sidetracked, I thought this was going to be a piece of cake. So I opened up the script and decided to add in the final touches. And wait, I didn't even start on this before I went on my tangent and it kinda sucks. So after realizing that, I decided I had to start from scratch. The only thing I did do for prep work kind of is keeping track of the currently equipped weapon that the orc has. So after sitting there for a little bit, I decided it was finally time to start getting this thing going. This was probably the most headache-inducing session of programming I've ever had. This system that I thought would be so easy to implement, just drag a couple of behaviors here and there and boom, it ended up being a bunch of headache actually. Turns out that I spent around an hour trying to just fiddle around with the script trying to figure out why collisions weren't actually being calculated. But then the shining gray button appeared. It was because at some point in this mess, I switched the layer to a weapon layer. And my genius head decided to completely turn off any type of collisions between the player layer and the weapon layer. The reason I even had to switch in the first place was due to the auto crouch ability we implemented before. Since the weapon actually was a default layer to begin with, the player would always auto crouch underneath it. This was really annoying because even though it did seem like the player was dodging it, it wasn't how it's supposed to work. So after fiddling with that, I finally changed it to a weapon layer and then I finally enabled collisions between the player and the weapon layer. So after about 4 whole hours, I'm talking about 4 undisturbed working hours, I was finished. I expected this small little system to take only about an hour or maybe 2 at max, but it decided to take the entire time I had to work. So after this pain-inducing session, I had another bright idea. Let's make the player actually react from getting hit, because right now he just takes it like a champ. Even if he runs out of health, oh wait, well I guess we gotta still add the whole death functionality to this, but we'll do that later. But I implemented a quick reaction animation that makes this whole system just go wow. Now with this complete, I refactored a bit of the behavior trees and decided to take a break. For the rest of the week I guess. But in reality, with my job starting to get a bit more difficult as the week progressed, this was the only feature I was able to implement this week, but hopefully next week we're gonna have some juicy stuff to show you guys. This is something our team has been discussing for a bit now. We believe that the movement in our project just doesn't feel right. Currently, the rotation is based on the mouse and which key you press. If you press A, the player would turn left and run to the left, and things like this. There wasn't really much strafing going around. The player would just rotate to that direction and move forward. But as we continued to play the game with that scheme, we realized that it was just not going to work and it wasn't what we wanted. So after some tinkering with the system and adjusting values to make the movement feel less clunky, I realized something. Instead of having this type of movement system, let's try to implement this newer one, where instead of having both the button and the mouse control the rotation, only the mouse would have influence over the rotation. This is also called the strafe movement system. Basically, if you press A, instead of turning, he would actually run sideways to the left. In addition to this, I decided it was time to scrap the program movement and switch over to a better system in my opinion, which is root motion. This would fix all the problems we were having with the movement system and allow us to use rigid body on our player without having making him feel a bit slippery and like he's on ice all the time. So in a separate scene, I decided to take a knight and prototype it, and it felt awesome. It was exactly what we wanted, so after the AI system, this is what we're going to be implementing into our project. While I was handling all that fun and interesting AI stuff, Perforator worked closely with Postcritical to make sure the map was running smoothly, though at the same time he was able to create some gorgeous looking models. Some of those models are a beautiful looking oak tree, a more simplistic tree to go around the forest, and an awesome looking market tent that just screams to take your money. In addition, he created 2 gorgeous looking grass textures and a couple of other smaller models. While there haven't been as many models, Perforator and Postcritical have been really working hard to make sure the optimizations on the map were perfect. They created LODs for the different trees and just created other things like that to make sure the performance was up to spec. Though we still have a very long amount of time before we can make this map playable, it's a good start. This is where a lot of the work has taken place over this week. Postcritical has been working really hard on making sure the map is getting done. Over this past week, he spent a lot of his time detailing and making sure each area had a purpose and looked phenomenal. He created a few LODs with the Perforator to help with the performance and really worked hard on optimizing this map. Though it's still far from being able to be run on a potato, the optimizations helped a tiny bit. Anyways, aside from that boring tech junk of optimizations, the map has become such a beauty to look at. The forests aren't just birch trees anymore, but instead filled with variety. The grasslands have, well, grass, I guess. The roads have been more detailed and the mountain peaks just pop from the forest. The overall whole map just looks phenomenal and I can't wait for you guys to play it. Anyways, this is the end of this video. I'm really proud to announce that we do have a website in the works, and it's an awesome looking website already, so I can't wait till it's finished. So once the site is live, I'll announce it and I'll showcase it in the devlog, and it'll just be awesome, so watch out for that. And this was all possible because of our awesome supporters. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support that you've given us. It's been insane lately. So look out for the next goal coming soon on our Patreons and help us reach that goal. Thank you all for watching this devlog, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys in the next devlog.